Welcome to the Lockdown Tactics podcast. It was quite a start for us last week, Snoddy. Fantastic. The coverage we got, the feedback we got, unbelievable, especially the mental health stuff as well. John Terry getting his charity stuff, the stuff he's doing, unbelievable. And, we look forward to another great episode this week. And, you can tell the viewers, the listeners who we've got this week.
Oh, listen, mate, it's a great week this week. We're really ramping it up with some continuing sort of the big names, keeping the flow going, sort of touching on the mental health aspect, which has been massive. The response, mate, we've had sort of a short space of time has been, honestly, it's been incredible. So I think,
see on that, Snoddy, I think that shows you what we're doing is will help a lot of footballers. Encouraging that we come out and speak about mental health.
I think, listen, mate, it's massive in the game. I think the biggest thing right now is really touching on that. The lockdown, it's been good in aspects for certain people, but listen, it's affected a lot of people. It's affecting a lot of people's lives. We're in sport, we're in sort of the football world. We can talk about it, but listen, it's affecting people in every walk of life. People don't know where the next sort of paycheck's coming for, Chris. The next batch of food's coming for. There's loads. If we can kind of reach out here on this show, why we've started it, where it's getting footballers to engage in the audience and listen, each fan maybe supports somebody different that's on the show, but listen, we need to come together collectively. The response has been incredible, the challenges, the efforts, the feedback for the sort of the way I was even starting it up, the John Terry stuff, people seeing what that guy's actually doing with his family, still kicking on, doing more charity work. I think, I've touched on it last week, is us as footballers and yourself who's had a great career and now into sort of media, it's very important that we reach out and sort of, touch people where it's, as I say to you, touch the heart, touch the sort of the emotions and let us know we're all in it together. This podcast is for the people. This should be the go-to podcast for sports. This is what it's all about, mate. And this is why you need to get connected with people. And this week I've got two names, which my current club West Ham. I've got Jack Wilshere on. What a career. He's played at some of the big clubs in England International. In my former club, Norwich City, Leon McKenzie is coming in. He's struggled a lot with sort of mental health on sort of through his football career. Then he went into boxing. So listen, this week, mate, we've got some smashing stuff coming up with some challenges as well, which we'll not tell you too much just now. But listen, tune in, and as I say to you, we've got some good stuff.
Well, before we get to all that in the lockdown tactics, we want to focus on mental health, and Leon he'll talk more in depth about that later. But I think I'm going to actually go to my phone here because I don't want to mess these figures up because they're actually it's pretty scary. But during the lockdown, a lot of people will be struggling, and in football alone, FIFPro announced their most recent findings. And there have been a significant increase with male and female footballers worried about their health and well-being. 22% of female footballers have reported bouts of depression, as have 13% of male footballers. 18% of women have reported generally feelings of anxiety, as have 16% of male footballers. There clearly is a worry out there in the game due to isolation, not being at work, the doubts about future employment in the game. It's when you see these figures, when you hear them, it's worrying times. And I think the more that we speak about it and try and push people to the right places, to speak about it, you're not alone. It's good. In terms of the amount of stuff that's out there for people that they can go to for help and everything, but we need to keep speaking about it. And I'm sure Leon will speak a lot more about that in terms of the courage it took for him to actually open up. And that's the big thing. That's where it can be so difficult. But there is a lot of helplines out there. You can see them on the page now. The numbers there if you need to contact anyone. So, for us, it's just about keeping raising the awareness and breaking down the stigma. And hopefully we can help a lot of people.
Yeah, it's do you know what, mate? It's those numbers there, Boydie, are staggering. I think that, you know, it's very important that, you know, people do tune in, because, you know, we've got Leon, who's been affected, but he'll go in depth with that. And just seeing the numbers midweek on Sky as well, it was, you know, it's incredible. And to think that, you know, you're rubbing shoulders with these lads maybe, or you know, on a Saturday. And you know, if anybody's, you know, affected, it's, you know, the numbers are there, and reach out, you know, because it's as we talked many times, it could be one phone call that could, you know, save people's lives.
Yeah, you're right, 100%. And we'll urge anyone who's struggling to make that phone call and have a conversation. You know, you're never alone. So, you know, make that phone call. So, without further ado, we're going to welcome our first guest, Leon McKenzie. You know, he's played with, I think, 7 professional clubs up and down the country. So, and now, as you say, into the boxing world. But, you know, the other side of his life, you know, the mental health side of it, he'll be speaking in depth of that. So, you know, welcome, Leon McKenzie.
Hi guys, pleasure to be on with you guys. It's obviously a great. It's just great to be on at a certain time, listening to you, what you got to say. Looking forward to this podcast, mate.
Now, we're delighted to have you on, Leon, and I think, you know, yeah, we're focusing on football and sport in general, but also the mental health side of it as well. You know, you've played with a lot of clubs up and down the country, but, you know, for 2013 you retired, you took up boxing. You've had a career in that as well, but, you know, the mental health side, you're doing a lot of work for that right now. Could you enlighten us to, you know, what you're doing and why you became so involved with that side of it?
Yeah, obviously played football for best part of 18 years, and you know, I played in all leagues and done the best I could for what the opportunities that I had within football. Injuries was a major sort of burden to me, really, because I feel like I could have played a lot higher at, you know, for a longer amount of time. But you know what it's like when you're injured. You know, once you get that sort of one bad serious injury, and it was my knee. You know, it didn't work out to the amount of games that I would have liked to have been involved with. But you know, when football finished for me, because I wasn't really ready to retire, I wasn't in control of how I was actually feeling, and I was very, very lost with, like, shit, like, what am I gonna do? Like, I wasn't in that position to retire like so many of us, and I think that's why I go in and speak all over the Premier League now. And I speak to, you know, I go in and speak to the under 16s, 18s, under 23s, and prepare them for life after, because no one prepared me for, like, divorce, you know, bad investments, bad agent, you know, even, you know, collectively just depression. Like when we were sort of playing properly, well, sorry, it's not he's still playing, but when we you know,
just retired, mate. I'm retired.
Are you just retired now?
No, you've just retired me on this program.
David Moyes wishes you had retired.
No. But obviously, I said, like, obviously we know, like, you're retired, but yeah, you know, when you retire, it's you know, you're a long time retired, and like I say, I you know, it's a massive percentage of the ones that don't want to retire from football. Like, actually have a choice to walk away from the game, you know, fully loaded, fully secure. Very, very small percentage of us will walk away, you know, comfortable in that respect. And I always knew I was going to have to sort of work again or reinvent myself. And I think what that led me to do is, with having a, you know, I had to go to prison for a little bit after football. Learned a great deal in there, you know. And it wasn't just like a normal prison. I was in an ACAT prison with murderers, paedophiles, and rapists. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, I learned a great deal in there to prepare myself to come back out into the world. And again, I had to reinvent myself. And obviously, when I did come out, I had about a year. I wrote an autobiography called My Fight with Life. Started educating myself around the mental health side of it. obviously, I've told the story. I did try to attempt my life while I was playing at Charlton Football Club, which was at the back end of my career, and I just couldn't get fit. I was going through a hard time in my relationship and away from my family home, and I just wasn't doing well. So what I was doing was just being quite destructive to sort of numb the pain from sort of being injured all the time, because I just wanted to play. I loved playing and scoring goals, but when that was sort of getting taken away from me, I couldn't control my emotions, and I found it very, very difficult to control. Therefore, just felt like the world would be better off without me. Totally wanted to check out of life. Fortunately, didn't. Got through that, and then things got worse. See, after my suicide attempt, things got actually worse for me. Which the reason why I put out the message I do and have now is just to simply say that, I was so low that, and it's not to feel sorry for me, not to have pity for me, but I was so low to the point of, Jesus, like I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm literally lost all my identification, and it just goes to show, like, the hardest year for me, after everything, going through a second divorce, missing my children, financially things changing. I won my first professional title in a very tough year, 2014, 2015. Although I turned professionally in 2013 at 35 years old, that year was a very tough year. I was crying most days on the way to training when I was training through, becoming a professional boxer. Just because I was going through a lot emotionally, I felt very lost. I felt very alone. I think when you're going through not one divorce but two divorces, it takes some toll. You know what I mean? And I had going through a lot of thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and still working out, still fighting with depression. And I made a decision to fight back. I made a decision it wasn't so much getting in the boxing ring to show, oh, look, look at Leon, footballer, now getting in. It wasn't to do with that. It was my own journey to try and hold on to my life again, because I didn't want to be where I once was. And
Leon, sorry, just to go back before you go on and on. What was it specifically that you learnt from your time in the jail?
What I learned from in jail was finding peace with myself and getting into a routine straight away. So I got myself a job when I was in prison, because I knew routine was suited for me. Very, very similar to the situations we're going through now, just getting yourself into a routine. So I wanted to have a plan daily. So as soon as I got in there, it was obviously quite scary. It was like, if you watched the film Mean Machine, it was like I was all over the news, all over the TV, going in there, and pretty much the jury was out for me. You know what I mean? Got into a few altercations in there, had to look after myself a little bit, but done my time and had my business. What I learned in there was to be productive, not to feel sorry for myself, and take it on the chin, because the reality was, it was speeding points. I gave someone my speeding points. That was what it was for, and was made an example of. Got my head down. I found myself counselling in there. So I've got murderers coming in my cell, people all from all walks of life coming in my cell, sitting down talking to me about my goal against Man United, certain goals that they were familiar with, and big grown men crying their eyes out, just saying, like, I miss my children.
Did you know then that you could make a difference to a lot of people the way you do now? Did you know then that there was something there that you could make a difference to a lot of people?
Yeah, I felt like, Boydy, I felt like I felt like I was given a position. So I felt like going into prison, although it was a bit harsh, I felt like I had to do something productive to make something greater than it actually was. So for me to come out greater than I was to when I went in. I needed to really get to grips with what is going on, and why. So I went right back to childhood, and I was writing a diary every day, and writing things down every day. And I decided to. I just felt like, you know what? Little did I know that I'd be given a publishing deal when I came out of prison. I didn't know. It was just like I'd been writing and writing and writing, and then obviously that happened. But I definitely think it made me understand myself a lot more, and that's why I sort of studied counselling for a little while when I came out. That's what it pushed me into that direction, and then obviously the speaking stuff. Obviously, I speak all over now, pretty much internationally, and that all came together with just one of my good friends, Michael Dewberry, who's a life coach now. Actually, he sort of helped me with a bit of a structured talk, and I sort of built into that, worked really hard, and then started talking all over, really, just to spread awareness. And obviously, where things are, there's so much sort of going on now.
Leon, see the stage here. You speak about there where you came right out of football and then straight into prison. Did you feel as if you learned more in that time than you probably did through your sort of full career?
I think
probably about yourself, you know what I mean? And you realise, and you strip it right back. You said there about taking it back.
So
for me, sorry mate, see, for me is, each year goes by, you're probably edging a little bit more when you're sort of early 20s. But for me, sort of getting into the later stages, Boydy might have had it, and anxiety comes in. Are you doing the right stuff? You're sort of one tackle away for injury. The biggest thing for me now is, can I be a good teammate? That's the best thing that I feel right now. Can I be a good teammate? When you're in the team, when you're not in the team, you've got kids coming in. The biggest thing is speaking about an education right now for you. Just you put it there at the very start, Liam, which I thought was brilliant, mate. Where it's like they don't teach you for retirement. Nobody will teach you for retirement. Nobody teaches you for the injuries in the game. The anxiety that does come, the pressure. Now, I believe for when I started, obviously you're still in connection with the Premier League and the game and all that. Do you feel that it is getting better? Do you feel things are in place for people that are struggling with depression, with mental health? Do you feel as if, the right people, we're getting there, we're getting better with stuff?
I think it's come a long way. I still think with the amount of money that is in sport in general, especially football, I still think they can pump a lot more into these areas with our mental well-being. I really do. And that's why I bought shares into a company that called LAPS, which is Life After Professional Sport. So I'm very much aware of what it's like at that age, under 16s, under 18s, 23s. And what is interesting about these clubs is like when I was sort of playing, I never had someone like myself come in and just break it down and be real. We have like PFA coming in, but let's be honest, like when the PFA person came in, if we were playing first team football, we'd kind of just want to get home because we're tired. You know what I mean? Don't really want to. That's where I was when I was sort of playing. I didn't really listen too well. But I think if I would have had someone like myself who's sort of been around the block a bit and gone through life circumstances, I think it would definitely help my state of mind. And that's why I'm passionate about going in and speaking to the kids and putting on workshops for them to prepare them for life after, because at those ages, critical, like that sort of, especially when you're sort of under 23s, you're in that under 23 squad, and you know what? Now you're in a position where, you haven't really played first team football, but you're just kind of reserve player, like you're not really, and then you don't get given that contract.
Yeah,
you got an issue. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I'm trying to get these young players to build on.
See, loads of my mates, for when we played like youth football, and it was like it's a thin line, I feel, where if you get the break or somebody else gets the break, somebody else doesn't get that chance, you get the chance, you take the chance. And the boys that I'm still speaking to, the lads now, and they say, do you know what? They had the same opportunity as me, and it was just you took your opportunity at the right time.
Yeah.
And then there's a work ethic. We spoke about with JT last week, where it was like, you know, I always feel when I say to the lads that when you're working as hard as you possibly can, you as a young lad, you're affecting all of your teammates round about you. And it's like, you know, how can you apply yourself every day to be the best you can be? And a lot of time, as you just said there, the PFA meetings, you come in, you go out, you go back home, you're structured into a routine. That is the sort of sport bubble as such. And then when that bursts, when you get into retirement, people don't know how to deal with it, mate, you know?
No, exactly that. And that's why I think, and to be honest, you know, like when I retired, obviously I feel like I was one of the ones that sort of stepped forward to just lay it all down, literally to speak about where I was, what's happened. And the funny thing with that is, and that it's not funny, but the interesting thing about it is that when I did start sort of speaking, we're talking, you know, 2012, you know, I started speaking shortly after Gary Speed's situation.
Why did the Gary Speed situation?
Why did that
trigger? Why did the Gary
Speed situation trigger basically you? Basically, what happened was, I remember when I attempted my life, I didn't say nothing. I actually went to train the next day. So I woke up from hospital in the morning and I went to training like nothing, right? And then obviously several weeks or months later, I can't remember the actual time schedule, the Gary Speed terrible, sad tragedy happened. But what I did in that time was actually I called the PFA around those times, and this is where it's probably kicked on a little bit. But when I called up and I said I'm sort of struggling, I've tried to take my life, I can't, and this is the honest truth. It was like pass the buck. Like I spoke to this person and I spoke to that person, and in the end, I gave up. So I left it there.
Can you understand why a lot of players, you know, I mean, I've read a few quotes and everything that you've said, and you've said it's only when players retire that they seem willing to speak out. Can you understand why that's the case?
Yeah, I guess so. I think when I was sort of going through it, I think it's judgment. It's you don't want to be seen as a crazy person. You don't want to be seen as, you know, oh gosh, like you're weak, and especially if you're still playing at a very good level. And no one wants our position jeopardized. We don't want our livelihood jeopardized over because we're not feeling great. I think that's one of the issues with athletes that have struggled with it. You know what I mean? That's what I struggled with, sort of being, you know, not telling everyone.
Sorry, mate. Do you feel like footballers are trying to protect their ego and try to protect an image in sport in general? Do you feel that's the case? Or they feel as if it's the fear factor? If you come out and speak about mental health, there's an issue maybe been dropped for the team. There's an issue people look at you with a different set of eyes, you know?
Yeah, it's hard to sort of speak for others, but I can't tell you the amount of players that I've maybe played against or haven't played against that I haven't actually met who actually got hold of me and contacted me. And I'm talking international players to right down lower league players. It was frightening the amount of players that just saying to me, "Thanks, Lee." Do you know what I mean? Like, I've been actually going through this and that and life circumstances, and I felt that's what really triggered me to do what I do today.
Did you have anybody, see when you were playing in your playing career, did you have anybody that you could go and speak to, or did you ever open up to anybody about the situation?
No, not really. Not when I was playing. Not really.
Did you feel as if, Leon, maybe sometimes you were trying to speak to a manager or trying to speak to players, but you know you didn't want to? Like the way you speak now, you're passionate about it, but you know, maybe sometimes we're guilty of, I'm going to ask a question maybe about somebody else, but it's really about me. Was there ever that situation with, you know, a manager or a coach where, a manager, coach, a player, that you had that discussion?
No, I think where I'm sort of especially towards the back end of my career, I was trying to hold on to, you know, playing at a decent level. And I just felt like probably around that time, managers wouldn't have understood.
Yeah.
I don't think they had enough education within this topic to really understood. I really feel like I felt it would have probably got me out of the team or whatever quicker.
Well, see you touching on that there. I had a situation. I was out for 16 months, Leon. You say about your knee there. I dislocated my knee, and I done every single part of my knee. And I remember the surgeon. Honestly, I remember the surgeon saying to me, "If you get back to any sort of level,
Maybe done,
surprised." He says, you know, and that there for me, I felt as if I'm not coming back, you know. So it was up to me as a point at that stage of my life where I felt, you know what, I'm not going to let this be any fault of my own. And I need to give everything to try and come back. It wasn't the fact to, you know, I'm going to get on the drink or anything like that. It was nothing like that. It was the fact is, you know, only way I'm going to come back for this, after hearing that surgeon, Andy Williams, who did most of the footballers, and especially in the Premier League, he was unbelievable. And I felt as if there was about 4 to 6 months in, Leon. I didn't want to do my rehab. I'll be honest with you. It was repercussion. It kept happening. The same stuff in every day. The physios and stuff at Hull at the time. I just signed in the Premier League. It happened on my dad's 70th birthday. We organised a party for him, surprise party. 20 minutes into the game, my knee just burst, and that feeling, mate, was incredible, you know. And it was 46 months into the injury. Steve Bruce called me into his office, like a proper, like a father figure talk, you know. And that was the first I'd felt that I'd probably had that conversation. My head was falling off. And he sat me down. He said, "Listen, it's fine." He says, "You know, it's okay to not be okay. You know what I mean? It's okay to not be okay." He says, "Don't worry about it." He says, "It's fine." He says, "Go back to Scotland. Go up and do your rehab back home. Go and see your family. You've not had that. You've been doing here for years. Go down there. Go and see them." And I just felt at that moment, until I look back now, at that moment,
massive.
I don't think I'd have come back to any sort of level if it wasn't that moment, because I had a month away, and you know he was terrific. You know, always on the phone asking how I was, and
that's proper.
If it's, you know, no disrespect, but I just feel as if a sort of experienced manager at that point who knew me more than anything, knew like I was a character. I loved the crack, I loved the banter, but I was getting in and I didn't feel part of it. I just signed for this team. For it was like 10 million quid, and I was thinking, you know, I feel worthless here. You know, I felt worthless. I just felt as if they signed a lot of, you know, top talent. I think it was like Ben Arfa, Diame, Huddleston, all these players, and I couldn't do it, you know. So it was. Listen, it's just relating to what you're saying there, mate. It's very touching. It's incredible that, you know, opening up, you feel as if probably you're at ease with everything now, which is great. Which I feel as if
yourself. Leon, see on that, do you feel, see in terms of your anxiety and depression and stuff, are you totally in control of that right now? Do you know when it's coming on and you can manage it?
Oh, for sure. You know,
and what's the techniques you use?
Techniques is literally just being kind to myself and understanding that when it does sort of creep in a little bit, just to take a minute and just try and understand that my way of fighting back is keeping busy. Funny enough, so although this has been a challenging time for me, what we're in at the moment, because I'm always sort of active here, there, and everywhere. Now I've got that sort of restriction around me where I can't sort of be here, there, and everywhere. Now, you know, keeping, you know, exercise is important for me. I mean, I can't run anymore because of my knee. I've got no cartilage left in my right knee, so when I start trying to run, there ain't really much hope for me anymore. So I found other ways of sort of training. I just like to just keep reinventing myself with things, and you know, I've got a massive documentary coming which is 85% done, which is going to change a lot as well, which is massive. My journey, but incorporated mental health awareness into that, which has allowed me to interview some top athletes and even massive Hollywood film stars. So that's going to change a lot. I'm about to launch.
See on that, Leon. I mean, this is obviously a worldwide, problem. Do you think that the authorities actually realise how big a problem this is worldwide?
I think they're going to realise after this pandemic situation. I think a lot of more people. There's going to be, if you've never understood mental health, right? There's over 200 types of mental health conditions. If you've never understood anything, you'll understand now, because there's going to be a lot more people who are suffering in their own way, within their own journey. It ain't about how much money you've got. It's not about, your fantastic job or whatever. But now it's really about, finding out about you. Yeah. And when we find out about ourselves, sometimes it's not really what we want to see. Therefore, there's a flip side to that. And coping mechanisms that we might try and do.
Boydy, what about that? Unbelievable. I think, he touched every single thing there we'll talk about, sort of the mental health aspect. It was inspirational. What do you think, yeah?
It was brilliant, Snoddy. I mean, I think that the way that he spoke about it, crystal clear in every single message. And, the work that Leon's doing is fantastic. And I think that when, with my own charity and stuff like that, and I'm delighted that, Lockdown Tactics and the Chris Boyd charity, working together to hopefully make a big difference here. I think that the one thing that Leon said as well, if you can help one person, it makes a difference. And that's the exact same message from the charity. When we started it first, it was a bit of even my mum was like, oh, I'm not too sure, and then all of a sudden she phoned up, have you started that yet? Have you went about it? And I thought, yeah, if it makes a difference to one person, and I think that's what Leon spoke about there, but it was unbelievable. And what I will say is that's the first part. We've another part coming next week in the Lockdown Tactics podcast, so stay tuned to that, because it's fascinating, the stuff he speaks about. But back to tonight. You've got another guest for us. You've managed to dive into the phone book again. Honestly, it's some phone you've got, mate.
You just think I'm a prankster, you just think I'm a prankster. Listen, big name tonight, powerful, honestly, incredible. Jack Wilshere delivers some inspirational stuff.
Hello, lads.
Jack, how you doing?
He's there.
How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. Good.
All good. Before we get started, you need to give us an insight of how Snoddy is in that West Ham dressing room.
To be fair to Snoddy, he is a major voice in our dressing room. When things are going well and when things are going bad, he's not afraid to let the lads know. Everyone respects him. He's been around the leagues. He's played in the Premier League for a few years, and he's also been down in relegation fights. So especially this season, he's coming real handy.
She's coming in handy this season.
Yeah.
He just really needed him. Jack, don't listen to him, mate. Don't listen to him. No, listen, buzzing to have you on, mate. It's incredible. I think right now at this moment, everybody's going through a very difficult time, sort of on and off the away from jobs, or people are still training. It's very difficult. We first and foremost, we appreciate you coming on, but we just how is lockdown been for yourself and your family?
It's been tough, but it's good at the same time. It's the same as every family. So you know what it's like. You've got young kids, which makes it interesting. We don't really have much time to be getting bored, which is a good thing, I suppose. When I speak to my mum and dad and that, they're going mad. They're missing the grandkids, but we don't really have that chance to relax. Apart from bedtime is full on the whole time. We're doing homeschooling, and then I'm popping out for an hour a day trying to stay fit or get fit, and which is difficult because we don't know when the season's coming back. So it's like I'm running and running and running. I feel good, but at the same time, I've just come back from injury, and you know what it's like. You want that sort of end goal in your mind.
Right now it feels like pre-season. You're getting back for pre-season, but you just don't know when it's going to be. It's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, it's tough. like I was all right the first couple of weeks. You know, it was something different. You know, we don't really get the chance to go out and like run. You know what I mean? Like you run on the roads or just run around. We're training all the time. We were on a strict schedule, and it was fun at the time. But now it's getting a little bit like, oh God, you know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing though, Jack. You'll miss the ball. You know, it's all right for Snoddy because that's all he wants to do is run around.
Snod,
you know what I mean?
I've seen Snods has posted a few challenges, and
it's incredible, Boydy. Do you know what? I'm actually trying. The boys are getting the cones out. I'm actually looking for a keeper so I can close them down. Can't close the keeper down.
Jack, you'll need to give us a challenge. You'll need to send us one in to the podcast. You need to get us one in.
I'll get a football one in, not a running one.
Yeah, love that. I love that. Pure footballer. Let's go back to where it all started for you.
Boydy, listen, before you try and go in there, have you done your 1K yet? I tagged you in the 1K.
I have, but I don't even want to post it. It's embarrassing.
No, not you. I'm talking about Boydy. I know you're doing it. It's him we're worried about, Jack.
We done the 5K.
5K's a dealing, mate. 5K's a dealing. Listen,
mate, you can't do 1K, never mind 5K. You better get it done. You as well, Wilshere. Get it done.
I've done it.
4 of them this week. I've done 4 of them this week, by the way.
4 what? 4 cakes?
4 5Ks. Telling you, mate. The first 2 were runs. The third one was cutting the back grass, and the fourth one was cutting the front grass. 4 of them, mate.
Wait, some of the scores people are posting on them 5Ks, like I wouldn't even put mine up. They're embarrassing.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, though, Jack, like a lot of people are pausing their runs when they're out there and everything. Just post who you are. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you take, like. I mean, in my case, it would take me like 26 minutes to do a 5K.
Jack,
but
listen, mate. The whole point right now is how many people are going to tune into your social media? How many people are going to tune in? No matter what your time is, you're still getting up and staying active. That's the biggest thing right now is to push that message. I've got one of my mates back home, Boydy knows him. He's a personal trainer. The amount of people that he said he's affected their lives just doesn't matter if you get up and walk. Or you get up jog. Everybody needs to stay mentally and physically right now because that's how we've set this up. For you to come on and for engage him and the listeners in terms of people are going to be struggling right now. I just don't think people if they are struggling right now, we hope we can touch them with this, as you say, with the podcast.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to where it all started, Jack. Luton, and then you went to Arsenal as a young kid.
Yeah.
How did all of that come about?
I was playing for Luton, and we played against Barnet, and the ref was actually a scout for Arsenal. And he came up to my dad after the game and said, "Oh, he wants me to come along." He didn't even say, "Try." He wants me to come. He wants to sign me for Arsenal, and it was strange because there must have been some sort of like window or transfer window where it could happen at that time. It was years ago. But I was so, like, I didn't want to go. I'll be honest with you. I was at Luton. I lived 15 minutes away from Luton to get into London every day. My dad, with his job, he would have to finish work early. And listen, my dad didn't put any pressure on me. But at the time, I was like, I don't know what to do. And I remember it so clearly. I was 9. I was at a park with my mate. And my dad pulled up in his little red van and he was like, listen, it's your last day. You got to make a decision. And I looked at my mate and I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to Arsenal. And then the rest was history. But yeah, fair play to my dad because we didn't have much as a kid. He was a plumber, and he used to finish work like 4 o'clock. We had to leave. I remember got home from school at 3:30. My mum would make dinner. 4 o'clock we'd be out the door. We'd be up to London, which took an hour from where I lived, and that was like 3 times a week from when I was 10.
But that's the thing, though. A lot of people don't understand the sacrifices that parents need to make, to allow their kids to fulfil their dream or their potential.
Yeah, no, definitely. And now I'm a dad, and my son don't play my son plays locally, but he trains like twice a week. And now I'm really starting to see, my dad made a massive sacrifice, and like if it wasn't for him and my mum, because my mum as well had to come home and then look up. I've got brother and sister, look after my brother and sister, and it must have been difficult for them as well because me and my dad spent so many hours together, twice a week, and then it went to 3 times a week. Then we played at a weekend, and it was long distances. We were out for a long time, so it was a big sacrifice.
See, in terms of your family, did that play any part in your family when you're growing up? I'm just trying to relate it back to the family side of things here. Did that have an impact on how your relationship was with your mum or your sister and your other family members?
No, not really. We've always been quite close. Growing up, we were close. My brother is 2 years older than me, so we were always quite close. I mean, obviously, I didn't get to see them as much, but at the time, I was just buzzing. I was playing for Arsenal. But I think back to relating it to the family and now, and like, for example, when I'm out, I don't spend as much time with my daughters, and it's difficult, and that's like not even half the amount of time my old man was doing it. So I'm sure they had their problems, and I mean, they were brilliant. They didn't ever show any like problems to us. We just got on with it.
See there, you touched on that, Jack, about when you become a parent yourself, you realise how good your parents actually were with you. That point is, if you don't become a parent yourself, you would have had it as well, Boydie, that you just realise it and you appreciate them a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, so all the little things so you go through, you got young kids, from taking them to places, like committing your time to them, to feeding them, brushing their teeth, changing their nappy, and all these things. And it's true, when you become a parent, you start to realise that how good your mum and dad were and how good you had it growing up.
So when you got to Arsenal, you were a youngster. You made your debut 16.
Yeah.
Coming up through the ranks and everything. Who did you inspire to be? Who was it you wanted to be? And what advice with Arsene Wenger and people like that at the club?
When I was about 12, it must have been about 12 in the academy, it was when Fabregas broke into the team. And he was 16. He was playing week in, week out in the Premier League, playing Champions League. It was that season where they got to the final of the Champions League, and he was like so influential through that campaign. And so when I went full time, it was strange because I went full time when I was 15, and I didn't expect to be around the first team or anything. And then what it's like in pre-season when all the internationals are away and they've got low numbers, the young players come in to make up the numbers, and it was like that. And I remember we did like a 2-week period of running at the training ground, and I was thinking, like, it's my first pre-season. I'm there thinking, I can't do this. Like, I'm so far off it. How hard their pre-season was. And then
that was me for 20 years.
Snods loves pre-season. It's his favourite time. And then we played a game at the end of that. We used to play Barnet every year, and I done all right. And then they were going away to Austria on the Monday, and I got a text on the Sunday saying, "Come in on Monday with your passport. You're going with the first team." And I was so scared, so nervous. It was when all the players were coming back. Fabregas was coming back. Van Persie had all been away on international, and they were coming back. And then throughout that pre-season, obviously I had a good pre-season, and then I went back with the youth team for a year, and I just got that little taste for it. And then now and then I'd get invited over for training with the first team, and Arsene would be there, but not say. Arsene was one of them managers who wouldn't say much, like, especially to the young players. I mean, as a young player, when you went over there, you knew the expectation. Like, there was only 2 or 3 of us who went at a time, but you knew, like, that was your opportunity, and you knew if you didn't improve the level technically, then you wouldn't survive. You wouldn't be seen. Like, and at the time you didn't really realise it, but looking back now, like, there was players who would go over there and like miss 1 or 2 passes, and then they were, next time it would be someone else coming over, and that went on for a year, and then I'd done another pre-season with them, and by this point I was so desperate to play. Like, I felt like I'd grown up a lot, and we went and started the season, and I was on the bench a few times, and I was getting like desperate. I was always asking him, and he was like, "Look, just relax. You're not ready yet."
So who would you go and speak to in terms of players in that regarding situation?
So in terms of players, when I at that point, I was almost like starstruck, but especially by Fabregas. Like, he didn't say much. He was one of them who just got on with it, and he trained hard but didn't really say much. And then when I started playing, he started like putting his arm around me a little bit and giving me little words of advice. but it wasn't really one of them clubs, Boydy, where like, we didn't have that sort of. I mean, there was big players in there, but none of them would really come to the young players, and I've only really noticed that since moving on from Arsenal, really, because it was sort of a club like that. Even now, like when we're at West Ham, and you got players like Nobes and Snods who talk to the young players, and you think, I didn't really have that. I mean, don't get me wrong, like Fabregas would lead by example with the way he did things, around the training ground, on the pitch, and by the time I broke into the first team, we become more of like friends, and he would give me advice. But at the time, it was sort of like you're over here for a reason. And
do you think they were intimidated by you because you were obviously an unbelievable talent there? Maybe they're looking at you saying, "But if I give this, young guy any tips, then he could potentially put me out of the team."
No, I don't think Fabregas was there, but maybe a few of the other players. Fabregas was by far the best player, and then there was other midfielders who. I mean, Diaby was a great player, but he was in and out with injuries, but then there was sort of like a group of maybe 3 or 4 players who sort of rotated and weren't really in the team, and maybe Aaron was coming through at that point as well. Just brought Ramsey in, and we become quite close, and it was like speaking with him, it was quite similar for him. It was almost like, right now you're here. You brought here for a reason. Just this is your opportunity. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you feel as the years went on, Jack? You said there about you were going to go the next year. Did you feel each year as this obviously you got a little bit older, but did you feel as if I'm really starting to put my foot in, and it was almost there was a pressure on you to probably deliver as the main man?
Yeah, as the years went on, definitely. I look back now, and before that time, up to 18. I was 18 when I went to Bolton, and that season. So I was 17 at the start of that season, and I turned 18, and I remember I was so desperate to play. I felt like I was ready. I felt like I wasn't the best midfielder there, but I was definitely good enough to play. And I had so many conversations with Arsene saying, like, I want to play, and I always remember him saying, "Relax, you're going to play 15, 20 games this season." And I was like, in my head, I was like, that's not enough. Like, I need to play. I want to play. And you know what it's like, Snods, as well. You back yourself once you get in the team that you're not going to get pushed out. And I didn't really have that opportunity, and at the time it frustrated the life out of me. It was driving me mad, and I think it drove him mad to the point where he said, "You know what? Just go out to Bolton, get some games." And I grew up so much at Bolton. Like, it was.
I remember speaking to young Coyle. And it was one of the things where he was like, Wilshere, he can play, but one of the things, he can handle himself as well. You don't very often you get, somebody so technical, but have rubbed shoulders with you training and stuff. But you love putting the boot in. Is that one fact?
I was worse back then as well. That's why I got so many injuries, man. I used to go into ridiculous. I remember the first day at Bolton, and I smashed into Kevin Davis, the biggest guy there.
Like your victims.
And I remember like people thinking, look at what's he doing? Like, mate, Owen Coyle was brilliant, but his training, a lot of his training was like 5-a-side, and the lads loved it. And I remember from the first day, it was like, right, 5-0s all the time, and it used to get heated. And like, there were some big players there, like, who played in the Premier League for years, and I remember smashing Kevin Davis, and I remember after thinking, oh no, what have I done?
Instant regret.
Yeah, instant regret. Like, so I used to be so bad. Like, even now, like, I lose my head a little bit in training, and I'll make a silly tackle. But I used to be like that all the time as a young player.
Oh, I've seen it.
I see the experienced guys like you smashing. I bet he just took it, and it was like, fair play.
Yeah, he just took it. Yeah, he just
you almost want that, no? You almost want that nowadays. Well, we talk about that, Jack, where you want the young kids to come over and lay a bit on you and have a bit about them, where you think, well, I'm going to eat if he's going to be up here battling with me on a Saturday. I want that as such,
Yeah, but it's like now, Snods. I mean, like, you can imagine if I went into the Arsenal my first training session, and smashed Van Persie or something like that. Like, he wouldn't have accepted it. And
see that side, Jack, where you've just touched on it. You said you learned so much. Do you see any sort of advice for young kids now that are kind of in and out of the first team, would you advise them to, get out and get games, learn about the game, go and speak to the experienced players as such, and try and just, try and study it, try and learn it?
Yeah, 100%. I think the academy setup is so good in this country, but at the same time, you can't get that experience of playing with people who are fighting for their lives. You know what I mean? Like at Bolton, we were, I think when I went there, we were like 16th in a relegation fight. And I mean, at the time, I wouldn't have known this, but looking back now, I'm thinking like these players were fighting week in, week out, because if they got relegated, they probably lost out on money and it affected their lives. So these people are fighting for their livelihoods, and you can't get that in reserve football. Reserve football's brilliant, and there's some great players out there, but to really test themselves, even if you have to go down the leagues, or I was willing to step down the leagues. It just turned out nice that Owen Coyle was a manager at Bolton, and he really liked me, so it made it an easy decision for me. But to get out and play football, that's experience that you look back on your career and think, you know what?
Just you touching on that there, talk about on loan. I went on loan, right, when I was 16, 17. And it's, you speak about levels and all that stuff. I went on loan, and Boydy, he started giving me some criticism. I went on loan at Stirling Albion. I'll be honest with you, it was some of the best times of my life. And, people were coming in, covered in mud and dirt for their shift. And then I'm training at part-time and think to myself, this is it. I'm going to be here like all the time, getting a job. If I don't get my act together, because I was saying 16, I never really had the advice as such that I had when I went down south. Whenever it was there, I felt as if in Scotland we were a wee bit behind the way English football were, because every time we used to play them in like the Victory Shield, some of the lads English were so physically advanced than us, and I just felt when I went out on loan, you touched on it there, I felt as if it was a massive point. But the manager, all those players, I still speak to a lot of them. I'm still mates with a lot of them, because it was a vital part in my career anyway.
Yeah, I know, totally, mate.
Yeah, what see in terms of you speak about the development side of it there, but what, as a person going to Bolton and coming back to Arsenal, what changed about you?
Yeah, again, like I was a young lad living with my mum and dad, and all of a sudden I'd moved to Manchester on my own. I was in a little 2-bed flat in Manchester, having to cook for myself, to tidy up the place, like to really grow up. And that took me so far out of my comfort zone. Like I was lucky enough to be at a club where I could live at home. Arsenal, it was a 30-minute drive once I finally went full time, and I didn't have to move. I had my mum and dad around me. They were doing everything for me. I'd wake up in the morning, go training, come home, have everything done for me, and almost in a bit of a bubble, because as well, being at Arsenal, great facilities, everything done for me. If we needed anything.
See on that, like what Snoddy's saying there as well, and me and him, we've spoken about this a lot of times of him going out and loaning that. Like his was for different reasons than what yours was for. But like, did Arsenal keep in contact with you to see how you're developing, or was you speak to people at the club on maybe not a daily basis, but a weekly basis, just to make sure that your progression and everything was still on track?
You know what? Not really, Boydy. Like, it was only a 6-month loan, and it was in the Prem as well. I mean, I would speak to the physios now and then if I had a knock, but in terms of like my technical development or how I was getting on the pitch, not really. It was just kind of like, right, you wanted this, go and play now. Do you know what I mean? And even when I went back as well, when I came back in that summer, in that pre-season, I was in a mindset of, right, I need to play now. If not, I need to leave. And I remember sitting down with his name was Dick Law. He was like the chief exec, and working out what we were going to do. And he was like, "Yeah, Arsenal still don't feel you're ready. There's 5 or 6 midfielders ahead of you." And I was like completely threw me off. And I couldn't even name you 5 or 6 midfielders that were there. So even then, like, I was still thinking, oh God, what's going to happen? I was only because we had loads of injuries come the start of the season that I played. I remember it was Liverpool away, and we drew 1-1, and I gave the ball away for the goal. And you know what that's like, your first game as a young player, gave the ball away, they equalised.
I've never done it.
Minute. Yeah, Snogs knows what that's like. And even then, like that's when I really appreciated Arsenal, because he was so good with me. Like at that point, he stuck with me. Do you know what I mean? Like the next week I was playing, and you need that as a young player. And when you're first getting into the team, you need that trust. You need that run of games, because you know sometimes young players and any player gets chucked in the deep end, and that's their chance. And I think if I could give any advice to any young player, is that like, when it feels like this is your chance, it is your chance, and you have to take it.
Yeah. See, in terms of you mentioned like Arsene Wenger. I mean, he was there for so long at the football club. What from you were in it first to when you left or when he left? What changed, and how was he for you? Tell us more about like Arsene Wenger's, your relationship with him.
Yeah. When I first got sort of started training with the first team. He was a manager who wouldn't say much, but you knew that he was what he expected, and it was difficult at times when I was a young player, because you just wanted more. Do you know what I mean? You wanted him to say, right, this is what you need to do. Go away and do this, or do this, and it wasn't really like that. And he just sort of let you get on with it. And it wasn't until later on in my time at Arsenal where I really appreciated that. You know, and like we don't get me wrong, our relationship changed over the years. Like it went to a really open relationship where we talk all the time. He would become that manager then who would say, right, that wasn't good enough. The weekend, I need more of this. And it got like, by the time he decided to leave, and then I decided to leave, you know.
Did you feel sorry for him in these last couple of years with the abuse and everything he got from the fans and that at Arsenal? Or was the time up?
Yeah, no, definitely. Like for the year before he left, I was at Bournemouth, so I was sort of like looking in from the outside, and you know they had a difficult year that year. I remember, and he went through it. He got a lot of stick, and you know, you sort of understood where it was coming from, because the fans had it so good over the years. I mean, they obviously had the Invincibles, and then we finished fourth for so many years in a row. So, but for some fans that wasn't good enough, and then they started getting onto him. Then they dropped out of the top four, and then the fans really started getting onto him. But all you got to do is look at what they did after he left. You know, the year after he left, who they brought in, and the struggles they still had, and the struggles they're still having, to realise what a great job he did, and like to move stadium and to remain in the top four for as long as he did. It's unbelievable. It will never happen again.
You don't realise it probably until, as you said there, you probably don't realise it, Jack, until he's gone. Do you feel? See, obviously, it's a different expectation for you boys. Where you know, when I can't really touch on it. I've never been in a situation where, you know, at sort of West Ham, it was like when I joined, it was like, you know, we need to finish better. Yes, we've been pushing to try and break into that sort of top six as such, and you know, when I was at Hull or Norwich, when we survived, that was an achievement in us. So it was a different factor. Yous were going in, you know, it was an expectation on to actually win the league, you know, to do well in the Champions League. Did you feel that? Did you feel that pressure?
Yeah, when I first broke into the team, you know, that my first full season, we finished second, and we just missed out on the league. Like we lost to Birmingham in the cup final. And like we were top, and then we just lost it. Like, I don't know what happened. We missed out. And then over the years, Snods, the expectation level sort of dropped. You know, we saw big players leave. That was when Fabregas left, and it was like,
see when you see that though. See when you see that as a player, that must be soul destroying, because you think we get so close, and then you know, your big one start to leave.
Yeah, and that happened so many times. And I was like, then he left. Then we sort of we sturdied the ship. Like we got in Nasri, we got in another few players, and then we got into top four. Then we finished third, and then we were pushing, and then he left to Man City, and then again, RVP left, went to United. Like one of the teams who we were fighting with like all the time, and
yeah,
you know, when Fabregas left and went to Barcelona, I was a young player, so I was like, I didn't really think of it like that. I wasn't going anywhere. I was just starting my career. I wanted to play as much as possible. But then, you know, when Nasri left and then Robin left, it was tough.
See, in terms of when you see like Nasri, I mean, you spoke about Fabregas leaving. He leaves the country. But like Nasri and Van Persie leaving to go to other clubs that you're competing with, what kind of message did that send out to the group of players that you were involved with? Did the you know, inside the dressing room, did the vibe change in there? Or?
Yeah, it did. I remember back to when Fabregas left, and obviously I said I was a young player, so I didn't really have that role in the dressing room where I could say anything. But I remember a few players, like big players, were Robin, Nasri. They were getting like they were asking the question, well, why is he leaving? Do you know what I mean? What we're challenging for, what we think we're challenging for the Premier League here. Like, why is our best player and our captain leaving? But then when like you see Nasri obviously went to City, and Nasri, I got on really well with Samir, and like, I remember having a conversation with him, and he was just like what City are building, like it's hard not to want to be a part of that. And I could understand where he was coming from, but at the same time it hurt because he was so good for us, and he was going to be one of the reasons why we were going to improve and start challenging. And you know, I always think back as well to that first season when we came so close. If we would have won it, what would have happened? You know, would Seska stayed? Would we have brought in, attracted bigger players and maybe pushed on like challenge for the Champions League? But you know, year after year, players left.
Do you think that was, you know, like when you speak about the players there that left? Do you feel as if, like, because Arsenal were maybe starting to slide down, that players seen it as an opportunity to, you know, you say there, Sammy Nasri going to Man City, Van Persie going to United. Did they see it? Did they think Arsenal, you know, that it wasn't the club that they joined?
Probably, yeah. Like, as I said, I saw it over when I first started, to the expectation dropping even from then. Like, from the first season challenging for the Premier League, then all of a sudden getting into the top four was what we were going for, you know. And I'm sure they felt the same. Like, I mean, what City were building when Samir went was hard for him to turn down. I'm sure it would have been the same for any player. And then obviously when Robin left, he was sort of coming towards the end. You know, he only had a couple of years left. He arguably joining one of the biggest clubs in the world who had just won the league. And the manager was obviously influential in that. And he was proved right. You know, he went on to win the Premier League the next year. But
was there any offers come in for yourself?
There wasn't really, to be honest, Woody. And to be honest, mate, I know, like, this is going to sound, I wouldn't have gone anyway. Like, as I said before, I was happy. I was at a club that I dreamt of playing for since I was 9. You know, I felt like I was going towards becoming a big player for them, maybe even getting the captaincy. And that was something that I wanted. And, you know, obviously injuries happened and other things, but I wouldn't have left anyway.
You see that though, it's almost frustrating because you see them leave and they actually go and win the league. You know, Samir went and won the league with City, and obviously Van Persie's went and won the league with Man United. It's you know, you say about it's a season about obviously, you know, what ifs, and it could have been different. But surely when you then, you know, you become so close to getting the captaincy and you know, there is a pressure on you, surely you must have been saying, you know, we need to replace lads like us to have any chance, you know?
Yeah, and to be fair to us, we went through a few years where we didn't, but then we obviously got in Ozil and we got in Sanchez, and all of a sudden it started to feel like, okay, we could have a chance here, and it never really turned out. Like, we always had a bit in the season where we would drop so many points, and then we'd just be going for the top 4. Like, there was some good players there. Sanchez, match winner, like world class. Ozil, world class. Love playing with him and like his ability, but we just never got anywhere near it. Like, City were too good. They were buying everyone. United were I think Sir Alex was coming to an end then, but they were still challenging.
Also, there, I've played against them, right? Played against Fabregas. How did you compare the two? Did you think they were quite similar? Because the two of them in a drop of a hat could just change a game.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think they can change a game and they can control a game as well. Like more Fabregas could control a game. Like that, I think that's the difference. Ozil wouldn't really get involved in the build up, but sometimes Cesc could drop, and like he could. I've seen it. Like, I played in games where no word, like he must have created 10 to 12 goal scoring opportunities just by dropping off. And like, I've had this conversation with him recently where, like that, I feel like that player is sort of going out the game a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Like, not really quick, not really strong, but just played with his brain.
Yeah, no, it's, and do you know what the thing is as well? Before the game, you have all the tactics. Let's, he's the danger man and all that stuff.
Mm.
These lads just find space. They can never be picked up. And the players run about them, which a lot of people don't realise. They know you want to pick them up. So they're working all week on sort of saying, well, how can we move this player in here? And do you know what I realised about the number 10s and pretty much yourself? You used to play behind, so you could never see what's behind you. So they were always, it was clever because the top boys I felt was, the centre halves would be so comfortable in the ball, they would break the first line, which is the striker, and then the midfielders, deep line midfielders, just controlled everything. So they always played behind you.
Mm. Yeah, no, and I played in a few games as well where he was man marked, which says it all for me. Like, someone who's not going to really run away from you with the ball, who's not going to like beat you, who's not going to push you off the ball, but to man mark him, like literally man mark. I remember we played against Bolton one year, Fabrice Mwamba. He followed him for the whole game.
The old shadow shift.
Yeah.
Oh no, unbelievable! It's the thing is that people, until you play with them, obviously play against them. I realised a lot under sort of Pellegrini. You would have seen where, when obviously you had a couple injuries at that point, but he was wanting you to sort of be that dominant force, maybe sort of getting on the ball, try to dictate it. He probably touched on that to you coming on to sort of West Ham. But did you feel, when you were coming to West Ham, did you feel as if you support him as a lad? You had favourite players, you had all this stuff, but when you went there, was it a different feeling if you got to Arsenal because you had a connection through your family?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, once I decided to leave Arsenal, I had a few offers, but I remember when I went to Bolton on loan, and West Ham were interested as well, but they wanted me to go there on loan with a view to then buying me, and Arsenal were like, "Man, we're not accepting that." So it never worked out. But from that point, like I always sort of had that in the back of my head. I was excited about West Ham. Obviously, I'm a West Ham fan. And as well, like it's a big club, Snods. Like when I went to meet Pellegrini and Mario, like I just wanted to hear what they saw, what position they saw me playing in, because I knew what the club was about. I knew West Ham obviously moved to a new stadium, and I was excited about that. And yeah, no, I mean obviously that year and it didn't really work out the way I wanted it to because of injuries. But I was when I first went there, I was definitely excited because of that, my connection through family.
Yeah, it's you touch on that there about saying about injuries, mate. It's good to actually have you on here and sort of speak about this side of things, because we us as footballers we're always told what to do. What obviously we speak about the routine. But nobody ever prepares you for injury. Can you just give a wee bit of insight into that, mate, and how, if there's any advice for kids, what have you done sort of as the older you've got?
First of all, when you're injured, and it's tough because people think that it doesn't matter. He's got a lot of money. He's going home to a nice house. Like it doesn't really matter. But it's not. It's not Boydy. Probably it's not. You don't care about that at that point. You just want to get on the pitch, and you go into training, and you're away from the group. You're not with the lads. You don't feel like you're part of it. Especially when I went to West Ham and I was joining a new club, I really wanted to feel part of it, and all of a sudden that was taken away from me. And I spoke about it before. Mentally, that last year was my toughest year because I just wanted to be part of it and show everyone what I could do. Obviously, I came from Arsenal. There's quite a lot of pressure on me to do well, and I just wanted to go on the pitch. And obviously, as well, we started the season so bad. We lost 4 games, and then bang, I was out.
Yeah,
and it's just tough mentally because, and it'll be like this for any player. When you're injured, you're away from the group. Like you're on different schedules. Like if you play and then have a day off, the injured player doesn't have a day off. They're in the gym with a physio, and it's the long-term injuries. It really is all about how you can cope with it mentally.
Yeah.
Was there anybody, see, in terms of like coping with it mentally, was there anybody that you spoke to? Maybe the older you got with your injuries and that, as you say, when you're young, you just go on with it and everything. But the older you get, the mental side of it. If it's injury after injury, was there anybody that you would used to phone up to even just unload on, or do you know what I mean?
No, but not really, mate. To be honest, I'm one of them who keep it all in, and it's not good. I know it's not good, and a lot of men are like that. But even like once I was back, and like, my missus doesn't really talk about it, but I always know. I can tell when she knows that I'm down. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like she won't be the same around me.
She touched on it as a teammate. I'm not just saying this to you. I've said this to you when I first joined and I seen you, the first year and stuff, and I've obviously played against you over the years, but it's to actually see you as a teammate and see how sort of hard you work on sort of to try and actually get back fit. That it's incredible. And people don't actually see that side. And I remember you coming back pre-season. This is just excited to kind of, I'm getting back, I'm coming back in, and then something creeps up again. I just put it for the outsider looking in. It's totally different for what I'm seeing in a day-to-day basis, and all the lads sort of, you've seen you firsthand. And I think, do you feel that this sort of point of your career, do you feel as if now looking at the injuries, do you feel it's actually stopped you to going to the very, very top and actually staying there?
Oh yeah, 100%, mate. So as you said, like, and it's not just been like that. It's been like that through most of my career, where you work so hard, and you know what it's like when you're coming back. Once you're back, you're not actually back. It takes 5 or 6 games for you to get back, and it's been like that for my career. I've done that, worked hard, finally got to a point where I think, right, I'm confident in my body, I'm confident in my game. Where I'm at the point where I can influence the game, I can do what I want on the pitch. And then bang, something else would come, and as well with me, it was never like a hamstring where it'd be a week or 2. It was always like an impact injury. I'd break something, or it would be a certain injury where it would take so long. And no, I definitely feel like that has, I miss too much football, Snods, and to miss as much football, you're always going to pay the price somewhere. And I think,
do you know what? As a teammate, you obviously we have banter and have joke and stuff and all that. You know that side, but see, because we'd seen what you'd went through sort of the first season, it's almost we feel the injury with you. Do you know what I mean? Because we're gutted as much as there's only so many times you can ask, "Yeah, I'm okay."
Yeah.
But really, you're not okay, as you said there. It does hit many people. It does affect lads, and as I said to you, it's the reason why we. You set this up, and this is a sort of, we want this to be sort of the go-to podcast where you telling people exactly the truth on how it actually is the reality is so much more than the mindset you've been a young kid thinking I dream to be a footballer. It's not just that. There's so many highs and lows through it.
Yeah, no, and as I said last year, mentally I was telling the missus, saying to the missus, look, I don't know if I can do this anymore, like going in, and then once you get back on the pitch and you think, oh, that ain't right, like it don't feel right.
Yeah.
And I've learned as well as I've got older that you have to listen to them things as well. As much as it will break you, like mentally, if you ain't right, you ain't right. And like as well, you talk like as a teammate, you can't hide from your teammates. You can't hide that. the ones who see you every day, the ones who train with you, and they see how you are. You can't lie to them almost. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, Jack. Do you know what I was? Obviously speaking to you sort of throughout the season, actually how you are. No, I went through all the sort of same stuff for such a long period of time myself, and I remember sitting, got injured first game of the season. I remember sitting in a hotel room, my two kids, my missus. We were just about to buy a house, but obviously got injured. We've had to withdraw for sort of buying a house. I just signed in the Premier League. I'm thinking, this is it, fully kick on. And then you get told you're out for 16 months. I'm sitting in a hotel room with a brace on, couldn't even walk, two kids jumping over, different things like that. And it's like, it's that feeling where it's so difficult. It is hard. And then even, as you just said, when you're back, you don't even really feel as if you're back because the lads wouldn't come near me. And I remember it as if it was yesterday. I don't know if Steve Bruce must have told Harry Maguire, but we were in training. And I'm thinking I'm actually wanting somebody to tackle me. I'd been sick of being the floater, and Harry Maguire with his size 16s came out of nowhere and put me, Jack. Honestly, he put me 10 feet up there, and I get back up, and I thought, oh my God, I'm in. This is me. I feel like I came through that hurdle, And then sort of when you get back playing games, I went into Steve Bruce and I went. He kept playing me for 10 minutes, Boydie, honestly, mate, and it was driving me nuts. It was driving me insane. So I chapped on his door and I'm like, listen, you've signed me for all this money. I says, I've went through all this time, a sort of 16-month, and I says, you need to play me, you need to start me. He's like, he went and he got quite aggressive. He's like, do you know what? I've been trying to protect you. He went, do you know what? You're starting on Saturday. I was like, I went back out. I swear to God, boy, I went in at 6'5" and I came back out at 4'5". I was like, oh,
how was the performance at the weekend though?
Do you know? I went back in and I played that week, and say the Jack about timings and different things. We played against Brighton in the cup, scored. We won 1-0, scored, and I went late to the end of the game. That's why you should play me header. But we played in the Saturday. We won 6-1 or something like that, and it was just we just went on from strength to strength. That season we got promoted, and I remember sitting there, right, and I get back to the my missus was pregnant at the time, and I get back to the hotel room after sort of I did the drugs test after the game, and the Sheffield Wednesday fans, I had to get the train back, and the Sheffield Wednesday fans, boy, they were gonna kill me, honestly, kill me. And I was like, because I was winding them up all game and all that stuff. Got back to the hotel, obviously we're going to go down, sort of celebrate, and you know what? I just held my missus and I hugged her, and the two of us cried for honestly for 5-10 minutes, because it was if the success is a hell of a lot more sweeter when you go through the bad times, That's what I felt. I just felt as if you've come through this with me, and we've done it. We're back into the Premier League, and it was such a relief.
And you didn't even say into that drug tester. No like you.
I'm going to knock him out, boy.
That'd have been the second one you've knocked out there, Jack, let's get back to the football. England. How was that when you're a young kid when you made your debut there as well? Like that step up from the Arsenal first team to England, in with all those superstars. How was that for you when your first call up squad?
That was tough. I was so nervous. It was just before the start of the season. It was after the 2010 World Cup. Do you remember when they got beat by, I think it was Germany 4-1 or something, and everyone was like saying, "Oh, they've had it. Get the young players in." And it was Capello at the time, and I'd done pre-season, and do you remember they used to have that weird international just before the start of the season? Do you remember?
Yeah.
It was that game, and I got called up. I remember it was a Sunday night, so everyone arrived like Sunday evening. And I remember walking into dinner. Luckily, I had Kieran Gibbs with me. It was his first call up as well. I remember sitting there with like Rio, John Terry, Rooney, Lampard, Gerrard, and I was just a 18-year-old kid who'd grown up watching them. And I played a few games, but I hadn't really played for Arsenal in the first team. I had in pre-season and the odd game off the bench, but I haven't really started in the Premier League. And I remember thinking, what am I doing here? How have I got here? Like just through through people saying, "Oh, have you seen this Jack Wilshere?" You know what it's like, the media with young English players. It's like the next big thing, and all of a sudden there I was, bang. Monday morning we were training, and I'm thinking, what am I doing here? Like, I don't deserve to be here. But you know, it was like, for my family, it was massive. I remember we played against Hungary, and I don't think I've ever told anyone this, but believe it or not, right? So I'd never suffered with any sort of like stomach problems, irritable bowel, anything like that, right? And I'm in the hotel the night before the game, and all of a sudden I start getting a bellyache. And I'm thinking, what the fuck is this? Like, what's going on here? Anyway, as it goes on, it's getting worse and worse. And I ring the doc and say, "Look, doc, I'm in a bad way here." And he said, "Look, I'll give you these, I can't remember what they were, to help stomach cramps." I was like, "All right, cool. If it gets any worse, call me." So I'm sat in the room, it's getting worse. I said, "Doc, you got to come now. Like, I'm in a bad way." So he came and was like, "Look, I can't do anything for you. If it's that bad, we're going to have to call an ambulance." So I think, oh God, no, what's going on here? So anyway, by this point, I'm not lying to you, I was on the floor crawling to the door, like trying to get the doc. I've opened the door, right? And Lampard has walked past, swear to God, and I'm there crawling on the floor. And he's gone, "Jack, are you all right, mate?" I said, oh, "Frank, please get the doc." Anyway, doc came, called an ambulance, and I was in hospital till like 5 a.m. Turned out I had trap wind. But if anyone's had trap wind, they will know how bad it is. It was awful. Like, honestly, I thought I was dying. It was so bad.
So basically, you just needed a tam kite.
Yeah. So I went to the hospital. My mum and dad came. Mum and dad were like, "Oh my God," they obviously didn't know what was happening. The hospital let me go at like 5 a.m. And I remember Stuart Pearce was the assistant, and came to my room at like 11 the next day, and he was like, "Oh, what happened?" And I was like telling him. And I was like, "No, but I'm all right to play. I'm all right to play." And he was like, "I'm going to speak to the manager, but I don't know what he's going to do. Like, you went to sleep at 6 a.m. Like, I don't know what he's going to do." So I was like, "All right." Anyway, game come, I didn't start, but I came on the pitch for like 15 minutes, and I was just like, I think back to it, and I can't even really remember it. It was that mad, like how I felt, and like, I came on in number 10, like Crouchy was up top, Gerrard was behind me, Lampard was behind me, and these are players that I've grown up like idolising. Do you know what I mean?
Was there anybody in
Who
that?
was the best? Who was the best?
What? Who? Hold on. There's two questions. Who's the best, Lampard or Gerrard?
Gerrard, Lampard, that Scholes, that midfield, the ones you played with, who was the best?
I didn't play with Scholes. He'd gone before that, but who was the best? Oh.
If you're a manager right now, who are you signing? There you go. There's a better way to put it.
Come on, Jack. You're doing your badges. Get your management head on. Come on.
Oh, probably signing Stevie G, man. I love Stevie G. I love playing with him.
Rangers fan. He's buzzing. He's buzzing.
Yeah, no, I loved him, man. I love playing with him as well. Like, because he was at that point as well. He was dropping into the holding role. Do you know what I mean? It gave me more freedom. Like, don't get me wrong, I love playing with Lampard, but me and Lampard were sort of in a similar position. Like, well, I actually did play a few times with Lampard and Gerrard, like Gerrard holding and Lampard, and like you look at Lampard's numbers and you think, oh, how did it? But if you played with him, you'd know how he was always in the box, always arriving in the box, or there or thereabouts.
Do you? You said about the sort of the person, the number 10 is such like an Ozil. You don't really see like a Lampard, getting in the box, scoring 15 to 20 goals. His record was incredible.
Yeah.
That's we've spoke to Deck about that to try and get more goals, get further forward. I know he plays a bit more defensive, but I think players of that. Gerrard was unbelievable. I just think that somebody like Lampard, where he maximised his ability to the very top, the amount of goals he scored, and just it's not a coincidence, arriving at the right time. Boy, spoke about you saying that with it, striking or strikers just arriving at the right time, and it's definitely no luck.
You know what?
I don't think it's something you can teach either. You see a lot of people going on about the third man running into the box and everything, but it doesn't matter how many drills you try and create during the week and training. You can put ideas into players, but you've got to have that instinct of I'm just going, because a lot of the time when you look at Lampard as well, he didn't really touch the ball a lot of times in games.
He did
he would in the box and score it. He was unbelievable player.
I remember JT speaking about him, because JT would he would obviously work with Jack Grealish and Conor Hourihane when we were at Villa, and he says, listen, every single time, and do you know what, Lampard at one stage was actually, when he was out, when he stopped playing, he was actually going to come in and talk to our midfielders, more advanced, further forward midfielders, to try and talk to them and try and educate them. JT was going to get it, never really come round to it. But I remember JT talking about Lampard and saying, if there was a shooting drill, Jack, and it wasn't up to the standard, he would just take a bag of balls and go over the side, and he would just 20, 30 balls, finish left foot, right foot every single time. Just want to get, before, say it's a Thursday or a Friday, get in there on a Saturday so he feels sharp in front of goal.
Yeah, no, you know who else I played with who had that? Obviously his numbers weren't as good as Lampard's, but Ramsey had that as well. Yeah. He scored so, you wouldn't even notice him in the game. He wouldn't get involved in the build-up, but he'd just pop up with goal after goal. And there was one season, I think he scored about 17 goals.
Yeah.
Who's over the years, Jack, in the Premier League, who's been your toughest opponent? You're not allowed to say Snoddy.
Yeah. On a consistent basis, Moussa Dembele from Tottenham.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I hated playing against him. And it was all of course, it was a build-up because of the derby, and it's like they do midfielders against each other, and I used to dread it. I used to hate. You couldn't get the ball off him.
Yeah,
I'm sure you played against him, Snods.
Listen, mate, he was like an ox. Honestly, he was so
powerful.
Yeah, and I think he started off as was it a striker or something? We brought him into midfield, and just the way he used to drive.
Snoddy, that's a different. The Moussa Dembele at Celtic. That's a totally different one, mate. You're just trying to get it back to Celtic. Relax, bud. Relax. Jack. Well, I must say, Snoddy told me before we come on here, well, Snoddy, you can drop it. You might not have had as many Scotland caps.
Oh, he's went there. Listen, tell them, Jack, the world probably don't know this. Could you have qualified to play for Scotland?
No.
Yes, you could have. Was it
hold on a minute. No, hold on a minute. Hold on. My step-nan is Scottish.
Yeah, that's enough. Listen, do you have a night out in Scotland? That's enough. Yeah.
No, listen, Mum. Don't get me wrong. She's not my stepnan. My mum's mum died when she was 17, and then obviously since I've been born, she was my nan. So I used to think she was my actual nan, and I genuinely thought I had a bit of Scottish in me, but it turns out she was my stepnan, mate.
Listen, mate, I'm buzzing because I wouldn't get any caps if you'd have Just touching on that, Jack. See. We're just saying about young lads and all that there, and one of the talents that's coming through right now is Billy Gilmore. He's at a big London club. He's number 8, 10 is such as yourself. What sort of advice would you give a young kid like that right now? Because you've been in his shoes, the world at his feet. What would you give him?
Well, he's obviously got a good manager who trusts him first of all and give him that opportunity. And like I spoke about before, once you get that opportunity, you have to take it, and he's doing that. He was doing that. He played a few games, a few man of the match performances, and he's one of them players who you just like to watch. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's not me. There's another one. Phil Foden is for me. I could watch him. I can go on YouTube and just type in their name and watch him play. And if any advice is just keep doing what he's doing. I'm sure Lampard he clearly is giving him the right advice, and he's got a good team around him. Keep practicing, and he seems to have that natural ability, but a lot of people said that I had that natural ability, but you soon realise that that's not enough, not in the Premier League, not to survive week in, week out at the top. You need someone else about you. You need to work hard. You need to have the bit between your teeth week in, week out, and want to go out there and perform. And he's at the best place to do it.
He does, when you go back to, I can remember you coming through as a young kid as well. I'm a lot older than yourself and Snoddy, but, when you're coming through, Billy Gilmore does remind me a lot of, a young Jack Wilshere, with the vision, the combination play. He's always playing with his head up, looking forward, looking for passes into strikers and things like that. Do you see similarities between yourself and him?
He plays with his head because obviously he's not the biggest, strongest, or quickest.
Well, I wasn't want to say. I wasn't want to mention.
Yeah,
you know, 5'5" or that. I wasn't want to mention that.
Yeah, I'm taller than him. No, but he makes the game look so simple, and I think that's what is so impressive about him. A boy of that age to have that maturity on the ball, and as well that to make the game look easy and be able to beat players as well when you're not that strong and that quick is something that I like to do, because you have, like, when you're sort of smaller, you haven't got that strength. You have to get close to players and feel them, and he's got that, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful to watch. I love watching him.
Yeah, he is. He's a top talent. I think when I sort of first watched him, I felt, as if he had an old man's head on his shoulders. Does that make sense? He just that maturity, and I think you see it and you think to yourself, you know what, he's got a hell of a chance. And I just think that the biggest things for me with young Billy Gilmore is dealing with that level of pressure at a top club, but to stay there for so long. That's why I asked you about it, because you see how hard these top pros to stay at that level for so long. To try and stay injury free, I know that's a big factor. But I touch on Mark Noble. You see him, daily, and I think people don't realise that the full ins and outs. That he's he's a top lad. He's dealt with that club in the palm of his hands for so long. You see him sort of firsthand when you actually played against him and to go in. I've experienced it as well. And it's just, to stay at the top for so long, you need to have a hell of a lot about you,
Yeah, you do, and you have to learn from the people around you as well. Snodge, you know what it's like as a young player, and especially like someone I can't know sort of he fascinates me, his career and what he's done and the way he is around the club, the way he is with all the staff. Like, he is obviously Mr. West Ham, but like, people think that's just because he's been there for so long, but the way he's survived for so long, like when I was at Arsenal, I saw it as well. I saw players come in, and you think, oh God, like, can you imagine how many times he's seen that, like, midfielders brought in and people probably saying, to
take his position as such, and he's thinking, he's trying to help them, because he knows it's going to help West Ham because it's his boyhood club, and it's the same as you said there. He's the more and more I've sort of went on with him, you get to see him firsthand and the work he does behind the scenes. It's it's incredible. Boy, you might have had that before.
No, I'm going to ask you a question. See with people like Mark Noble and other guys who have been at a club for so long, everything it's just everybody takes it as granted. Like they're this, they're that, whatever you want to look. How good, first and foremost, how good a player is Mark Noble?
Oh, he's brilliant.
Yeah, he's brilliant, and as well, sometimes that goes a little bit. Like, people don't see that because everyone thinks, oh, he's Mr. West Ham. But technically, Boydie, he is like, you don't put it, he very rarely gives the ball away. One thing I noticed about him, like, he's not, listen, now he's at the point in his career where he's not going to be the player, like, box to box, getting in the box, creating things. But he just keeps things ticking over and
trains every day, Jack.
Trains every day. Yeah, without fail.
We're always in the gym, like the sort of experienced boys sort of pushing each other forward. You've seen it, and you look at the likes of sort of Zabaleta, people like that who have been at the very top for so long. It's no surprise that they're there because they've got a work ethic, Boydie. And I say to you there, I get back to it, but with Fergie, he must have been a big driving force in that dressing room where it is winners, and they almost get overlooked how good they actually are because they're known as being a leader,
Yeah, I think what happens is in football, you find what would you say, an idol, and then you start to take some stuff for them, and then you look at players who you're playing with or you've played against and say, right, how can I become one of them? Can you take things? So, Alan McCoist is a hero of mine, Alan Shearer, hero of mine. So you look at what you can take from them, and then you start to build who you want to become. And, usually no different. Usually the heroes growing up, idols, and you start to, well, if you're any good, you try to mould yourself into to as close as you possibly can get. And then when you get on a pitch, you start scoring goals, and you start the way you go about your business in a game. Then for me, I think you start to look at your teammates. For me, Kenny Miller was unbelievable. In the gym every single morning. I think he done the 5K challenge the other day there. I'm actually looking saying this guy's 41 and still smashing it. But in terms of fitness and stuff, you then start to mould yourself, mould yourself, but start to look at the older players, the ones who run about you and say, right, what can I take for them? Jack, I'll ask both of you, has there been any players where you've thought, I wish I had, I had that with him, and that you take little bits from all different players?
Yeah, no, I was exactly like you, mate. Like growing up, I was looking at players, and even say growing up, you even look at players now who play in your position, and you think, I need to do more of that, or I want to do more of that. And listen, as well, I talk about Fabregas when I was growing up and how I looked up to him, but Mark was one as well. Obviously, I was a West Ham fan, and used to always, even when I was breaking through at Arsenal, I used to always keep an eye on West Ham, what they were doing, and there was like this young kid who came from nowhere, and then even 7 years later, when I'm playing against him, I'm thinking, God, he's been around for a few years, and then when I went to West Ham and I see him around the place, and as well, Snods will agree, like he was the first one who welcomed me in. He probably thought when I was coming in, oh God, like there's another midfielder who's coming in, but he was the first one to put his arm around me and welcomed me, and like as I said before, the way he is around the training ground, around the club, the way he deals with people, like I'm not lying when I say it, he almost like fascinates me, and I think like more clubs need more people like him.
Yeah, you know what? He welcomed me in as well. I brought my brown brogues out for Dubai when we went, and he absolutely slaughtered them, Jack.
Now I don't mind them, Snods.
Yeah. You've seen them in the boxes a couple of times, haven't you? No, you know what, Boydy? It's been brilliant just to sort of touch on a few factors, but I think the message that we're all trying to send, and it's see right now, Jack, in sort of lockdown, we read some figures out there about the depression levels and the mental health. It's like 40-50% in sport. Sort of females, males. It's right now. If you get any message for everybody, not just in sport, everybody at this moment in sort of lockdown.
You know what? So as I mentioned it before, I'm not really one who would talk about it with people, and I would like even since last year I've changed a little bit because I had a conversation with my missus where she was like, "Look, tell me," and even if you're just talking to your missus or someone you got around, if you haven't got a missus or a fella or whatever, just talk to someone. Pick up the phone to your mum or your dad or anyone, a friend who you can, and just like see how they are, let them see how you are, and just feel the love of them. And as well, one thing I found that helped for me, like during this lockdown, is I had a few moments where I'm thinking, this is tough, but see, the night before when I go to bed, I'll write down what I need to do in the day.
Routine.
And it just sort of gives me like a routine and almost like a goal, a target throughout the day. Even small things like clean out the cupboard or go for a run. Yeah, that helps.
It's small things in it. Me and Boydy were sort of talking about that the other day there as well. It's small things where you do take for maybe granted because you are in that sort of daily routine and playing all the time to actually get up in the morning instead of shooting off to training straight away, where it's you need to take this sort of the good with the bad as such. Is I've loved spending time with the kids. I genuinely have, just sitting down, ask my missus how's things, how's your family back home, reaching out to mates in that back home, reaching out to I said that to Boydy, friends of friends, just to see how people are. I think a problem, listen, mate, I say all the time, a problem shared is a problem halved. And I think that's the key message right now is to try and reach out to as much people as you possibly can. Affect people because you're a role model. People look at you as a role model, same as yourself, Boydy. It's a very tough, challenging time. And because we don't have a clear guideline right now when we're going to come out of it. So if we can have things like this as much as we possibly can, then and we can try and help people, then great,
Yeah. Well, I think as well on the football side of it, a lot of people go to football on a Saturday, they look, in people's social media, and they're looking for players for that little bit of inspiration. So if you're out doing a run and you post that, then it might get somebody else off the couch or out the front door and say they'll go and do a run. So, I think the more that people post and try and help everybody, through this difficult time, the better it is for everybody. Because the last thing, as Jack said there, for a number of years, you probably didn't want to open up and speak about things and everything, but you feel as if now even speaking to your missus, it's a weight off your shoulders. And I think that's the key thing for anybody. It might have been you were struggling from injury or even life or whatever. I think the key thing is here that we speak. You pick the phone up, you check in with people, you make sure they're okay. And if you do that, listen, we're all doing a little bit to try and help everyone. And I'm sure once we come out of this, the world will be a better place if we're keeping in contact with everybody. But, it's important that once we get back to, normal, hopefully soon, that we still keep it going, because I feel as if after that there'll be a big... a lot of people will be struggling. We need to keep right on top of it all the way through there. So, there's many positive stories we can get out there. The best or the better, sorry. And I think that, Jack's, a lot of the stuff you've said tonight's been unbelievable. Great insight into your Arsenal career, West Ham, England, even your life in general. It's been fantastic. So, I'd like to say thanks very much for coming on. We've thoroughly enjoyed it. And,
thanks for having me, guys.
And hopefully we'll hear you again soon. But
thank you, Robert.
Thanks again.
No, thank you, guys. And good luck, man. I saw when Robert was doing this, and I thought, what's he up to? I had a look at it, and I saw the JT one, and I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant, and I think it's going to help as well.
Brilliant, man. Brilliant.
I think that's the key thing, though. That as long as we go about it the right way and try and help, as you say, when you see the big names coming on and them speaking about, their life and what they're having to go through and everything, it can relate to a lot of people, and people will relate to you, and I think that's key. Me and Snoddy can sit and talk rubbish all day, but if we get guests on that can talk sense, then it's going to make it a good show.
Brilliant, Jackie boy. Brilliant, man. Good to see you.
Thanks, lads.
Thank you. Cheers. Brilliant, Jackie.
Guys.
Thanks very much. Once again, Snoddy boy, pulled it out of the bag. Love it, mate. I love it. I love the big names coming in here and talking, giving us some stories and insight. I must say, I thought Jack spoke very, very honest. His career, very respectful to his managers, players he played with and everything. But, even the mental health side of it as well, touched on that, was very inspirational in that as well. But I never get the chance to ask you in there. I'm going to ask you now. We spoke about Jack about a lot of things. How good a football player is he?
Honest to God, Boyd, I think, people probably seen him, you see him on the TV as such, and you see him, and sort of for me to see him in full flow, when he's fit and he's strong and sort of injuries behind him, he's incredible. He's one that I felt should have been at the very top. His messages there, it was so powerful for all young kids. He touched on Billy Gilmore. Obviously, what a fantastic words he had for young Billy and the way he was, but the way he speaks and stuff as well. He's a credit to himself. He's a great family man, and it's a powerful messages that he was sending there. I'm engaging in with a lot of aspects, Boydie. But the biggest one for me, what he touched on, was the injuries. In depth, sort of how he dealt with it, because I've had a long injury myself, but to hear him then Leon speak about it as well, it's incredible, and it's one thing I don't think we get taught how to deal with that. So to hear it in depth for two lads tonight, I thought it was incredible.
It was, and to touch on it as well, I think that a lot of people just see footballers as these guys that, Jack said that, we've got loads of money and you can go home to your big house and everything, but it doesn't work like that. There's people out there who are multi-millionaires with the exact same problems as, guys who might be struggling, or even human beings who might be struggling, not just guys, who might be struggling. So, I think to relate everything to, it's okay, he's got money, he's got a big house, it's wrong in so many ways. And, it just shows you how, you spoke about your injury and how big an impact, like even injuries can have on footballers.
No, it's massive, mate. And I just listen, I love sort of hearing, top players and ex-players speak about it, because, once you're alone, Boydie, when you're not feeling part of the dressing room, and, then there becomes, once you have maybe one injury and it's a reoccurrence of different things, yourself, footballers do not want to be injured, mate. They hate it. It's the worst side in the game. And I think once it happens, and then through all the sort of the negativity people create online, as if a player wants to be injured, that isn't the case, mate. I felt it firsthand, and it's such a shame that it has probably hampered Jack in many stages, but he's still you know, he's still young. He's still fighting fit to try and get back in the park for us to, you know, a big job to play, hopefully, for the final push.
A fantastic, you know, episode tonight. So remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to catch up on the latest podcast. So once again, thanks very much for everybody for listening, and it's been another fantastic, you know, night here at the lockdown tactics. Hey,
Boydy, don't you get ahead of yourself and try and finish the show there. Your doner kebab and your pizza can wait. Listen, the AR 26 Top Bins Challenge. What a response. Some of the stuff we've had on there, it's been incredible. Here's our top 5.
Hi guys, loved watching all your efforts on lockdown tactics for the AR26 Top Bins Challenge. Unfortunately, there can only be one winner, and that winner is Callum Edmonds. Loved your tricks, loved your shot at the end. It was amazing and a worthy winner. But thank you everyone for taking part. It was amazing seeing them all. And thank you for Lockdown Tactics for putting this on. Hopefully see you all soon, and Callum, the shirt will be with you very soon.
Well, Snoddy, with some fantastic efforts and a worthy winner, well deserved. But thank you very much to Andy Robertson for donating his top to the Lockdown Tactics. It's a fantastic gesture. I'm sure it will make makes the wee man's day. So, but back to this week. What have you got up your sleeve?
Boydy, listen, incredible for Robbo. Superb gesture for obviously hanging his top. You know, the kids, the response we had this week, families out in their garden, you know, staying active. Kids at 4, 5, 6, ranging up all the way, you know, people from all over the world. Boydy, great response, buzzing. But listen, moving on to next week, I'll give you Declan Rice.
Hello everyone, Declan Rice here. You've seen my DR41 skill challenge. Now head over to Lockdown Tactics to get involved, and the winner will win a signed shirt of me once this is all over. Stay safe, stay at home, and I'll see you all soon.
Incredible for young Declan there. Unbelievable what it's got. I've not seen it enough for him, Boydy, but hey ho, listen. No, he's learned that probably in the lockdown. Brilliant for young Declan.
He didn't learn it for you, that's anyway.
No chance. He was closing the keeper down, you know, he'd have learned it for me.
But guys, what a great episode. Stay tuned. But remember, the most important thing is everybody stay safe.